Security sources in Kaduna say police and troops have recorded a big win against suspected Fulani militias who have been terrorizing communities. Reports from southern Kaduna explain that after weeks of planning and gathering information, the police and their allies decided to spring a trap on the attackers. According to updates from the area, the suspected fighters who had been rustling cattle and raiding villages suddenly found themselves inside a carefully laid ambush. Shots were fired, suspects were neutralized, and stolen cattle were recovered. This operation is being described as a victory that shows security forces can turn the tide if they act smart and stay alert. My people, before we go deeper, please don't forget to like this video right now and subscribe to the channel so that more people can hear this important story. Now let me break it down in a way everyone will understand. For months now, families in villages across southern Kaduna, especially in areas like Kachia, Karu, and other farming communities, have been living in fear. They go to farm, but they are not sure if they will return alive. They hear gunshots at night, some even in broad daylight. Cattle rustlers have been using stolen cows to make money and fund more weapons. So what the police and army did here is very important. They decided not just to wait for another attack, but to take the fight to these criminals by setting a trap. And this trap worked because instead of villagers being surprised, it was the attackers themselves who were caught off guard. If you are following this gist, remember again to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss updates. The news of this victory is spreading because people are tired of only hearing bad news. For the first time in a while, farmers and families can smile a little, knowing that the security forces are not sleeping. But we must also say the truth. One operation is not enough. For every one ambush like this, there are still many villages that cry out for help. That is why the community is happy, but still asking for more presence of soldiers and more protection. Think about it. How can a farmer plant crops if he is not sure his land is safe? How can children go to school if the roads are not secure? These are the questions people are asking every day. Now let's talk about the term Fulani Militias. In many reports, you see this name, but we need to explain it carefully. Not every Fulani person is part of a militia or a gang. Many are peaceful herders who just want to raise cattle and live their lives. But inside that population, there are armed groups who have chosen violence, and some are mixing crime with old conflicts about land and grazing. So when people say Fulani militias, they are talking about the armed groups, not the entire community. It is important for us to understand this clearly because Nigeria is one big family with many tribes, and we must not use the bad actions of a few to condemn everybody. If you understand that point, give a thumbs up by liking this video and subscribe so we can keep spreading balanced news. Now, one thing that makes this latest ambush sweet gist is how the attackers walked straight into the police plan. According to locals, the security team had information that the group was planning another raid. So they positioned themselves quietly, used the terrain to their advantage, and waited. When the fighters came thinking they would attack, they were shocked. This shows that with the right intelligence and quick action, our forces can truly defend the people. But the question now is, will this be sustained? Because Nigerians know one victory today can be forgotten tomorrow if another attack happens elsewhere. That is why many viewers will agree that the government must make this kind of operation regular, not just once in a while. Don't forget, my people, like this video and subscribe because we must continue this conversation together. When we look at the bigger picture, Kaduna is just one state, but what is happening there reflects a larger challenge in Nigeria. States like Zamfara, Niger, Katsina, Benue, Plateau, they all face similar issues of armed groups attacking farmers and communities. Sometimes they are called bandits, sometimes militias, sometimes terrorists. The names may differ, but the pain is the same. Lives lost, families displaced, food supply destroyed. This is why when Kaduna records a victory like this, it is not just for Kaduna people alone, but for all Nigerians, because it gives hope that this strategy can work in other regions too. If you are feeling that hope, show support by liking this video right now and subscribing so we can keep pushing this message far. Another angle to this gist is about cattle rustling. People might think it is just stealing cows, but in reality, cattle rustling is one of the main engines of violence. Each cow can be sold for money. That money buys more bullets and fuel, and the cycle continues. So every time police recover rustled cattle, they are not only returning property to owners, but also cutting off the criminal's source of income. This is why communities are so happy when they hear about cows being recovered. For a farmer who has lost all his cows, that is like losing a bank account. So this victory is not only about neutralizing attackers, but also about striking at their economy. Please, before we continue, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can always get these deeper explanations. Now let me touch on the human side. In the past few weeks alone, southern Kaduna has seen killings that broke families apart. Children have become orphans, women have become widows, and men have lost their homes. Many people are now living as displaced persons, seeking shelter in nearby towns. They need food, water, and security. This is why news of a police trap and victory feels like a ray of light in a dark tunnel. But we must not forget the victims. We must not forget the people still crying. That is why alongside the victory, we must push for humanitarian help, relief materials, medical care, and trauma support. Because security without compassion will not heal the wounds of those already hurt. Viewers, let me ask you a question. Do you think the government should focus more on setting more of these traps and operations? Or should they put more energy into dialogue and community peace talks? Drop your answer in the comments, and as you are doing that, don't forget to like and subscribe. Your comment may even be read out in the next update, so make it count. Now let us move to the humanitarian side in more detail. Each time violence happens in Kaduna or other northern states, you will see people carrying only the clothes on their body, running away into neighboring towns. Families are scattered. Children lose track of their parents. Parents search for their children, and elderly people are left behind because they cannot run. That is the picture of displacement. And even though this latest Kaduna ambush is being celebrated as a victory, we cannot forget that weeks before it, innocent people were attacked and killed. That is why every victory must be matched with strong humanitarian core. Relief materials must reach those camps. Food must be supplied. Medical teams must go there. And psychosocial support must be provided for people who have lost everything. Because if people only hear of victory but don't feel it in their lives, then hope quickly fades away. Please, my people, as you are hearing this, remember to like the video and subscribe. Let's keep building a voice that demands not just victory in battle, but victory in people's everyday lives. Now let's talk about trust in security. Many Nigerians, especially in rural areas, don't fully trust security forces. They feel abandoned because when they cry for help, it often comes late. But an ambush like this can rebuild that trust. When villagers see that police can respond in time and even stop attackers before they cause more damage, their confidence grows. But that trust is fragile. And if there is no follow-up, people will lose it again. Trust must be built brick by brick with consistent protection. Something else we should discuss is the role of information. Many times, villagers know when strange people enter their communities. They know when cattle are being moved in suspicious ways, but they keep quiet because they fear revenge if they talk. This is why anonymous tip lines and community policing must be strengthened. If villagers can report safely without fear, then more ambushes like this one will succeed. Imagine if in every local government, people could share information quickly and security could act immediately. The story of banditry in Nigeria would change completely. If you believe information sharing is key, kindly hit that like button right now and subscribe so that more people hear these simple truths. Now let's reflect on the economic angle. Each time violence forces farmers out of their land, food production goes down. When cattle are stolen or killed, the price of meat goes up. When roads are unsafe, traders cannot move goods. So what begins as security issue ends as economic issue. That is why the cost of food in Nigeria is partly tied to insecurity in states like Kaduna, Zamfara, Katsina, and Niger. If insecurity continues, food inflation will keep rising. This is why victories like the one we are discussing matter to every Nigerian, not just those living in Kaduna. Whether you live in Lagos, Port Harcourt, or Abuja, you will feel it in the market. When farmers are safe, food prices stabilize. When they are not, food becomes expensive. So next time you pay extra for rice or beans, remember there is a link to security, and that's why we must all push leaders to keep communities safe. Don't forget, my people, like this video and subscribe so that this message spreads far. Another angle is education. In places like southern Kaduna, children often cannot go to school because of fear. Parents would rather keep them at home than risk them being kidnapped or attacked. But when security forces win operations like this ambush, it encourages parents to send their children back to school. Education is the foundation of development, and if fear of violence keeps children away, the entire future of the region is at risk. So every victory is not just about today. It is also about protecting the future of the next generation. Now let me touch on the political side again. After this ambush, politicians may try to use the news to score points. Some will claim credit, others will blame their rivals. But Nigerians are wise now. People want results, not noise. They want safety, not speeches. They want food security, not endless debates. And that is what must be demanded. Less talk, more action. If you agree with that, drop a comment right now saying, less talk, more action. And also, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Now let's expand on the root causes. Why do these conflicts keep happening? One reason is lack of opportunities. Many young men in rural areas don't see jobs, don't see school, don't see a future. So some of them are easily recruited into criminal groups. They see cattle rustling or raiding villages as a quick way to make money. Until the government addresses this poverty and joblessness, the cycle may continue. Security forces can win battles, but development must win the war. Job creation, education, infrastructure, and inclusion are the long-term solutions. Without them, victories will not last. Now let's ask an important question. Should Nigeria consider state police? Right now, all major policing is controlled from Abuja. But many argue that if states had their own police, they would respond faster because they know the terrain and the communities better. Others fear that state police could be abused by politicians for personal gain. What do you think? Should Nigeria have state police to fight insecurity more effectively? Or should we keep one national police? Drop your answer in the comments. And please, as you are typing, remember to like this video and subscribe too, because this conversation must keep moving. Now, talking about modern solutions, some experts say drones should be deployed in rural areas for surveillance. Just imagine if drones were flying over vulnerable villages, tracking cattle movement, spotting unusual gatherings, security could act in real time. That would reduce the success of attackers by a huge margin. It's not cheap, but it's an investment worth making. Others suggest better use of community vigilantes, properly trained and supervised, to support the official forces. But the key is coordination. If vigilantes, police, and military don't work together, then criminals exploit the gaps. But if they work hand in hand, operations like the Kaduna ambush will become more common. Now let's talk about rumors and social media. After every attack, social media is flooded with unverified numbers and sometimes fake videos. This can cause panic and even increase tensions between communities. That is why we must be careful. People should verify before sharing. We must not spread videos that can inflame hate or fear. As I always say, responsible reporting saves lives. If you agree, kindly hit that like button right now and subscribe so that we keep encouraging responsible media in Nigeria. My people, let me pause here and ask you, do you want me to continue this gist and expand into how insecurity in Kaduna connects to other crises in Nigeria, like farmer-herder clashes in Benue, kidnapping in Zamfara, and even oil theft in the Niger Delta, so that we can see the big picture of national security.